What is going on, guys? Alex here. Before I go out shooting today, I'm actually going to edit a photo. It's something I like to do just to get in the mood so I can see the edit while I'm shooting. I've got a reference photo for this one, so I picked an image that I really enjoy and I'm just going to try and copy the tone and the feel of that image onto my image. So let's just jump straight into Lightroom. On this first tab, the first thing I always do is in the Basics tab, and what we're going to do, my image is a lot brighter because there's a lot of mist, so I'm going to just drop the tone so it kind of matches. So we're going for more of a blue cold tone. We'll probably up those a little bit, up the tint a little bit. I'm going to just drop the exposure. The reference image is really contrasty, so I'm going to add some contrast. Duck the highlights because you can see in the reference image this is just flat up here. There's no really bright highlights. I'm going to lower the shadows a touch, probably drop the whites a touch, and actually probably drop the blacks a touch. What I'm going to do as well is, because it's so misty, I'm going to add some dehaze, and so far it's not looking anything like the image that we want, but that's okay. So we're going to go ahead and crop. Next thing I go to is the tone curve. Like I said, this has already been done, but if I click that on, you can see the difference it's making. So this is actually a really strong S curve with the highlights taken out completely. Now it's going to mess with the image quite a lot. I've gone along and done a little bit of adjustments to the red, green and blue as well. So I've just put some blue in the shadows and put some red in the highlights. I've just put some purple in the shadows and put some green in the highlights. And then I've put a really strong S curve here to add loads of yellow into the shadows and blue into the highlights. That's going to go even more crazy when we add the calibration. It might not be right, and I don't know if it is the correct way, but this is something I saw online and I've been giving it a go. Turn on the calibration. All I've done is I've put the saturation of the blue primary up, and then I've just maybe tinted it a little bit, tiny bit towards the aquas. Now our image is looking mad crazy compared to that. We'll add those lens corrections. And then this is kind of where it brings it all back in line, is the HSL. So we're now going to play with the tones that we've got and we're going to adjust them. So you can see here on the hue, I've dragged the blues that were there, those really heavy deep blues, I've dragged them way more towards the aquas and the greens. I've added a bit of colour into the other sides as well, so a lot more orange and a lot more yellow to try and balance those colours out, and I've ducked a lot of the luminance of these colours as well. So because the calibration is so high, I've taken the blue out of the aqua and the blue itself in the HSL, but that calibration is also affecting the yellows, the greens, the oranges, the reds, everything else, and I've kind of messed with them a little differently. And then when we get to luminance, I've done pretty much the same. So I've taken a bit of the orange out of the image and I've taken a bit of the green out. I've pushed those blues and aquas in terms of luminance. In terms of color, I think color wise we're pretty close. Maybe just duck the exposure a tiny bit more. And then what I've done is I've added a mask to my main subject here, bang in the middle, just adding a little bit of exposure, a little bit of dehaze, lifting the shadows, adding a tiny bit of contrast and lowering the black just to make it kind of stand out a little bit more. Then on the next mask, I've added this in the sky, this kind of highlight, which I wanted there because it's kind of gonna draw, hopefully draw the eye to the statue and create a bit of lift above it, which is quite cool. And then the last mask I added was a lineal mask, a gradient mask across the bottom corner of the image, and that's just to lower the color and tone in that corner, so your eye is more drawn to the center of the image. If you wanted to add some effects, you can do. Here I've added a tiny bit of a vignette, and then if I wanted to push the grain up, I can, just to kind of get that filmic kind of vibe in the sky there that we've got going on over here. I don't really like it in my images that much. I feel like they muddies them like way too much. But if you wanted to, this is where you could add that. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you could probably do a little bit more accurately if you wanted to take a little bit of time, maybe take my image is very blue, so we could up the luminance and take the saturation and play around with that for as long as you wanted. But as just a quick edit, and in comparison to our reference photos, we've got the before, which looked absolutely nothing like it, and then we've got the after, which looks a little bit more tone wise and feeling wise in line with what we've got in front of us. So there we have it. I'm going to go out and shoot. I really hope you enjoyed this. I'll catch you guys again soon.